Again, my name is Jacob. We're going to be spending the next about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, depending on the questions that we have as we're going throughout the webinar. And I'm going to show you how to use WordPress, to put together a website. And while I'm doing this, I'd like to point out a few of the tools that are going to be available to you as you're building a website using WordPress. At the end, we'll have an open QA, so I can answer any other questions you may have, either something we've covered or something else you've come across while using WordPress. Just feel free to ask those questions as they come in or as you think about them. So let me start the screen sharing, and we'll get started with showing you how to use WordPress. I'll also mention that today's webinar is being recorded, and it should be uploaded to our YouTube channel probably by tomorrow afternoon. So if you ever would like to go back to review the webinar, you can do that. So just take a minute for my screen sharing to start. Okay, it looks like it is now online. You should be able to see my screen. You should be able to see that I've gone to Bluehost.com. I've logged into my control panel. And I'd like to show you how to install WordPress. That's what we're going to start with. To do this, we're going to click the Site Builders tab. Then once we're in the Site Builders tab, let's choose Use WordPress. When we click this Use WordPress button, it's going to take us into Simple Scripts. Simple Scripts is the tool we're going to use to be installing WordPress. However, this is going to just simply skip one of the steps where we would choose Use WordPress. So just take a minute for us to log in. Here we are. And choose to install WordPress. I'd just like to point out that if you are going to be migrating this site from another server, maybe there's a WordPress site you'll be migrating, you'll want to make sure that your WordPress versions match up. That's why we've left the option here to choose which version of WordPress you would like to install. If this is a new installation, I would recommend just choosing the latest stable edition. It's automatically going to be chosen for you, just to make sure your site is secure and is up to date. One of the things you can really do to help make sure your website is secure is to constantly come back and check into your control panel and make sure that WordPress is up to date. If it's ever out of date, back in the control panel where it was before, there'll be a banner at the top saying you have so many Simple Scripts installations that need to be updated. That number is just going to be based off how many you have installed and how many would need to be updated. So just check back often in your control panel just to make sure that everything's up to date. I can choose where I would like to install it to. Today I'm going to be using bluehosttutorials.com. And number 2, or step 2, the advanced options. I don't like to think of these as advanced options because they're really not. These are some really important steps you can take while you're installing WordPress. First of all, it's going to be giving your new site a name. You can do this after it's installed as well, but I like to just take this moment to give it a name. So if while I'm building my site, somebody happens to come across it or something of that nature. And I can show you too a plugin if you would like to see. Show you a plugin that you can use to create like an under construction page. There are a lot you can use, and I'll just show you where you can find those. So today we're going to be building, I'll be building, you can watch me build a fictitious site about hiking in Zion National Park. So title's going to be Take a Hike. I'm going to generate a username and password. Well, instead of generating one, I'm going to create one. And I do this for a couple of reasons. One, because it's going to be more secure, because I'm changing the username. If there were a bot or somebody trying to hack my WordPress site, instead of just having to guess the password, they have to guess the username as well as the password by me doing this. I'd also like to point out that the username is case sensitive. So as I'm using Jacob with a capital J, I'll need to be sure to use Jacob with a capital J when I go to login. For the password, I'm just going to come up with kind of a secure password. It is going to print it in plain text so that I can see and make sure that I'm doing this properly the first time. And it's also going to be able to email that password to me after I've set this up. I'm going to let it create a database for me. I don't want to have to bother doing that. That's one of the things that Simple Scripts is great at, is making this easier for me. Under step 3 for plugins and themes, these are a few plugins and themes that we're going to install by default for you if you would like. you'll see that there are the 3 different options as far as what they're doing, as far as with Cashy and Small Biz, and how they're very much focused more towards running a website or selling something online. The Wizzy app is going to take your site and it will put it into a mobile format when somebody comes and browses your site on a mobile device like a phone. So I'm just going to choose to install those as well. Whether I use them or not, I'm not sure. Probably won't, but I'm just going to let it install. Simple Scripts will take a couple minutes, install WordPress for me, and then we'll be ready to go. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask those. Like I said, it'll take maybe a minute or two. Before we had Simple Scripts, you would have had to go and manually download the WordPress files from WordPress.org, upload the files onto the server, and create your database, and then go through the whole setup process. This does it all for me. So I can see my site URL, my login URL, and then my username and password. I'm just going to open these up in a couple of tabs, so I have them later. So currently, this is what the site looks like. Not very exciting, just the standard WordPress theme with a default or a blank, kind of like a testing post and page, samples of those both. Let's log into the back end. So for this, I'll need to use my full username and the password I just created. I can choose whether or not I'd like to have my web browser remember this. I'm going to choose yes, just for simplicity. And this is the WordPress dashboard. So here in the WordPress dashboard, I have quite a few things that I can just kind of come back and check on this as far as basic settings. These are kind of some helpful things at the top, helpful information. And then I can also get some statistics about my site, even use this quick press so I can easily create a new post on my site. So I don't have to go and add a new post, I can do it from right here. And just some other information about my site. So really helpful to get an overall look of your WordPress site, how it's doing, just at a quick glance. To get started, I'd like to choose a theme. I think that's probably the way that I prefer going about this, just because I think it gives me something really good to work with. It gets me excited to build the site with WordPress. So to do this, I've actually found a theme that I liked before I started the webinar. I'd like to show you though real quick. Under Install Themes, I could search for a theme, and maybe I don't know the theme name, but I have an idea for colors, or maybe how many columns I want it to be, if I want it to be a 2 or 3 column website. Up here I could search for just kind of a general keyword. I could search for something like a keyword of blue, and it's going to come back anything where they've entered the keyword of blue. Try mountains and see if there's nothing coming back, but I can keep looking and searching. What I did was, we have a blog, blog.bluehost.com, and on there are a number of great posts about using WordPress. One of those is a list that has 3 or 4 different WordPress sites you can go to, and I found a theme from one of those. So I'm going to upload the theme, so I'll click the upload button, I'll select choose file. Let's see, in my WordPress folder, I have this theme already chosen. Let's click install now. I can preview the theme, but there's really nothing there other than that sample information, so I just want to activate my theme. So my theme has now been activated. I can do some customization now, and then I can also just come back and do this later on. I do want to do one thing, and this is very theme specific at this point, so if you're not using this theme, this option is not going to be there. It might not actually be necessary. But I do need to go to menus, and I just need to add a quick menu item to it. So I need to enter menu name. I need to enter a new name for these menus. Create a menu. Like I said, this is theme specific. Some themes might have this. Most themes that I've used have not. But I kind of like the theme, so I'm willing to work with this setting of this for this page right here. I have the primary navigation. I can set this. So I'm just going to go and save. I can enter a custom link, such as bluehosttutorials.com, and then a name. And I'll show you what this is in just a minute. So let me choose to add menu. I'm going to automatically add new top-level pages to this menu, and I'll save menu. So let me take a look at my site. Let's refresh the site. I haven't used Safari in a while, so I'll refresh the site. So now I have just kind of a generic site, and this is where that menu was. So I added the home. So now what I'm going to do is start adding some posts and pages, and we're going to start building out this site. We come back over to the dashboard. There was a question that was just asked. I'm going to wait until the end to answer the question that was asked. It was about how to get a theme from Theme for Press. And we can talk about that. I think just at the end will be a great time when we can discuss getting themes and where to go for those. So, very good question, but I'm going to come back to it a little bit later. Let me go under plugins and let me install a couple of plugins before we start doing the posts. So when I click plugins, at first I can see a list of the plugins that are installed. I can easily choose one like Hello Dolly. I can delete this plugin. It doesn't really have a lot of purpose there, so I'm just going to delete it. With plugins and how they're concerned, sometimes people will ask, well, how many can I have? Is there like a perfect number? Can I just add a number of plugins? A lot of people like to keep their plugin list shorter, just because it's going to help, one, with security, because either you have a shorter number of plugins that might possibly cause an exploit or something to be found, so they can hack your site, and also fewer things to update later on. Also, when you start adding more and more plugins, it's going to start using more and more resources on the server. More and more CPU is going to be needed to load your website. So I would keep your plugins kind of to a minimum. Just add just what you need, and then the others you can just not worry about. Such as Akismet, I think, is a great plugin to activate. I can show you real quick if I just activate Akismet. And then what I would need is I would need to go through the actual setup and get that Akismet key, which is a free key, and Akismet will help block spam posts from my site. So Akismet's a good one to have. Let's add a couple more. Later on I'm going to show you how to use a gallery. I think galleries are a great way to add multimedia to your site. A very popular gallery is called NextGen. So you can see there are a lot of add-ons or plugins that will add additional features to the NextGen gallery. But I'm going to install just the basic NextGen gallery right now. Okay, so that's been installed. I'm going to click Activate. It looks like NextGen has an announcement, so they're going to show this little pop-up box. I can read through that and click Dismiss. Let's add a few more I'm going to need later on. Part of my gallery, I also want to have a shadow box. This shadow box is going to be, if you've ever been on a website, if you're not familiar with shadow box, and you click on an image, and the rest of the screen kind of fades to black, and the image comes up on top and overlays on top of everything else. This is called a shadow box. I think it looks really nice on a website, so I'm going to choose to install now. I'll install the shadowbox.js. So I'm going to activate a shadow box. As I'm activating these, you're going to see that I have some notifications that come up. One is going to be for my Akismet API key, and the other is for Shadowbox. And you will get the Shadowbox source code files. And this is really easy to do. I just click Get Shadowbox Source Files, and that's all it takes. There are some settings that I can specify what kind of files will be loaded in Shadowbox, what will not. And then I can click Save Changes if I were to have made any changes to this. Let's go back to plugins. I'm not quite done. I have one more that I want to search for and install, and then one I'd like to upload. Contact Form 7 is a real popular contact form. We're real familiar with it on our end as well, as far as how to set up so that it works properly. Typically, there's not a lot you need to do. When I've worked with it before, for me, it's worked out of the box. Sometimes you need to tweak a setting or so. But I'm using Contact Form. This is, as you can probably guess, just a contact form so that my visitors can interact with me. And there's one more I'd like to upload. So I'm going to choose Add New. I'm going to upload. Let me choose the file. This is going to be for comprehensive Google Map. And we're going to install that plugin. Just to activate the plugin. You might have also seen on the left-hand side, or in this column, as I've been installing additional plugins, additional options have been showing up, such as Contact, the Google Maps, and the Gallery. That's where I can go through to set up and customize those different plugins I've installed. I activated the Akismet key, and a lot of people ask about how to do this, so let me show you how to get the Akismet API key. So when you go get a key, we're going to go to kismet.com. Now there's 3 different levels. There's an Enterprise, Pro, and Personal. As you can see, this is it's based on the kind of traffic you're going to be having as far as which one they recommend. Today I'm just going to be choosing a Personal. I'm just going to put in my name here. And then I can choose how much I'm going to donate. Today, for this demonstration, just because I don't want to put my credit card information online, I'm just going to choose nothing. I'm not going to be donating anything. This is a really great tool. This is one of those things that someone's created it and they maintain it. So we do recommend that you contribute what you feel it's worth. So I'm just going to continue. And so this is going to then give me my Kismet API key. And that's been emailed to me. So now we go back and check my email, and then I'll be able to enter that API key. So now that I have the plugins enabled, I need to configure just a few of them as I begin to create pages and posts for my site. We actually begin to add the content. To start, I'm going to be choosing a gallery. So for the next gen, I'm going to add the gallery / images. Give it a new name. Let's call it gallery. I'm just going to be creating the one. If you were creating multiple galleries, you might want to give it more of a creative name. But for the time being, I'm just going to choose that. Dismiss this. Let's choose some files to upload. Choose to upload all my files. It's a gallery. I'm going to choose to upload into my new gallery, and I'll upload the images. Take a couple minutes as it then uploads. I can also choose to resize the images if I wanted. This is especially this would be great if you're working with images that are really big. A lot of times when you come across a website and the site loads really slow, especially the galleries, you'll find that the person has uploaded the images straight from their camera. But they haven't resized the images, so they're these they're really big files, and so it can kind of cause some problems. It causes some, especially with speed when it comes to the site. So let me click Manage Gallery. Now that I have a gallery, let's choose this gallery. So this is going to be the title of the page, a description if I would like to add one, and then I can either link this to a page, so kind of as if it's like a sub-page, and then this would then be the parent page. Choose a preview image if I would like, or create a brand new page. So this is going to be a new page without any sort of a parent page. So I'm going to create a brand new page. It's going to be called Gallery, and it's going to start popping up here on my site if I refresh my site. So I now have a home page and I have a gallery page. If I click Gallery, you now see the images that are on my site. So there's the shadow box overlay that's been incorporated with my site. And click through and view the images inside that gallery. So I have a little bit of my site coming together. Let's add a few posts. This is going to be somewhat, I need to do this about 4 or 5 times, so it's a little monotonous and it might be a little boring, but I'll go as quickly as I can. Again, feel free to ask any questions you would like. If nothing else, you've written it down and we can address it later on. So we come back. Let's go to posts. We're going to trash this hello world post. Now let's add a few new ones. What I'm doing now, so I've entered the information. I'm also creating a new category so that I can have my posts broken into separate categories. I can add tags if I wanted, which I'm not going to add right now, but I'm going to add a featured image. And so now what I need is just to simply choose one of the images that I have. I'm just going to upload a bunch of new images. So let's select Files, choose all of our images. choose show, and I'll scroll down and use as featured image. It's done. I'll click publish. I'm going to do this, like I said, about 3 or 4 times as I just add a couple of posts in there so the site has some content to it. This time I don't need to upload it because I have a media library to work with. To remember which other images I have available. Now as I'm hitting publish, these are going live and they're starting to show up on my website. So if you were to go to bluehosttutorials.com, you'd actually see these. Just 1 or 2 more, and that'll be done. Let's do 1 more just so we can imagine. I haven't pointed out this yet. Well, right here I can customize the title and the alternate text. The alternate text is good for 2 things. One, the alternate text is going to be used for for SEO purposes. For example, like the Google image search, this kind of stuff is going to be coming from the alternate text. Also, if somebody's coming to your site that has their vision's impaired or something of that nature, and if they're using a program that will read the screen for them, it will read what's in the alternate text field. Publish. Okay, so now our site's looking a lot better if we take a look at it. Let's come back to the home. A lot of themes will use, down here at the bottom, this featured image. And it's going to use that featured image for these sliders or for other presentations, like right here where we have this featured image. This is all coming from that featured image that I was setting. So if you're using a theme and it has, like I said, sliders or thumbnails or something of the nature that's going to be automatically added, more than likely you're going to need to set a featured image for that post. And you click on the post, and then you'll show it a login here. It's not going to actually insert the image into the post. It does a little based on the a little on the theme you're using, but on this one today, it's not going to do that. So I'm going to go back to home. I'm going to add 2 more pages. I'd like to show you how to add a contact form and also how to embed a Google map. So for this, let's go to our Google map, and we'll go to the shortcut builder. The shortcut is really neat. It's just going to be a very small little tiny bit of code that I'll put on the page, and that will tell WordPress to load this particular plugin. So we're going to generate a Google Maps shortcut. I'm going to set the width of how wide I would like the map to be, and then how tall I would like it to be. I can then go through and add a number of different options to how I would like this map to look, what I want to offer, what I want to show up. For the most part, I'll leave them just to say automatically enabled as they are. And scroll through here, and I can choose any of these different markers. You're going to be very familiar with this top one. These first two especially. These are just your generic Google Map markers. And then you can go through and add any number of these other mini markers to your site. There's a little hiking guy who's down here towards the very end. So I think I'll use him. Here we are. I'll need into the map markers destination. This is going to be the destination of where it is that it's going to. And this is actually Bluehost's address. It's actually where we're at. And then I'm going to add some text if I want, a little subtitle here. So I'll add that. Here's a few more options if I'd like to set those. I don't have a lot of time to specify or explain what they are, but they're pretty self-explanatory if you use Google Maps very much. I'll generate the short code, and this code is then what I need to put on that page. So I'm going to copy this code, close it. Let's add a new page. So we're going to go to Pages. We'll add a new page. Let me just put a little bit of contact information. I'm just going to space it like that. I was trying to force all these into paragraphs. So I'm going to highlight these. I'm going to do I'm going to expose what's called the kitchen sink. So this information down here. Change this to an address. We'll add some indentation. Change this to a heading. 3, I think will be good. So let's change that back into an address. There we go. And that's all we need to do. Let's click Publish. Next, I'm going to add a contact form. So I need to come to Contact and put together that form. There's one already. This form, if you can look at it, you'll see that it has, this is what's going to be asked for, and this is going to be what the field is. It's going to follow it. So it's going to ask for your name and have a text input, your email address and have an input for your email. It'll have a subject and then a box for your subject and then your message, and then a submit button. I can generate additional tags over here if I would like. But I'm okay with this, so I'll just copy this form as it is. And go create a new page. Go to Pages. Add a new page. Into that form. And then I'm just going to put in a little bit more contact information. Now there are a number of plugins that you can add that is going to add social media to your site. If you would like, I can look at some of those plugins with you. For today, what I was going to do is just show you how to add a link. And while adding that link, I'm just going to link to those social media sites. So add a little indentation. Again, change the format on that to a heading 3 is what I had before. Oops. Carried away with that again. So for email, what I'm going to do is I click this little link button. Going to want the destination URL. Now by default it's going to ask for an HTTP website address, domain name. But I'm going to do an email to, and this way it'll open up their email program rather than open up a web page. I'm going to say send it to Jacob at bluehosttutorials.com. Title will be email. Add a link. I'm just going to do the same for Twitter. Add a link. Let's go to twitter.com/bluehost. And Facebook. Choose to open link in a new window, these kind of options. I can also choose to link to a page I already have created or a post I've created. Just add this and publish this page as well. It's taking a minute for that to publish. Somebody had asked a question as well on how to change the theme on an existing site. And I can show you how that's going, how to do that in just a minute. It's the same way I went through to activate this theme. But let me just show you how to do that in 1 minute. Let's point out two important things. One is for these settings. Actually, one's a real important thing. One is more theme specific. Under settings for permalinks, this is what's going to handle how the URLs are going to be displayed as. By default, it's going to come up as the day and name. So it's going to show bluehosttutorials.com, my domain name, the date, and then the name of the post. If you want to make this really easy for people to remember, though, you might want to just choose the post name. So it's bluehosttutorials.com/postname. Some people prefer the numeric option, but something like post name I think is going to work quite well. Or a custom structure if you want to put something else together. So save these changes. Lastly, on my theme, and this is just again to show you that some themes are going to have different settings, and so you need to be sure to check the documentation for those different themes. I can choose the slider post category, how many slides are going to show up, and also my Twitter ID, so because this theme is built in to have those Twitter feeds coming in. If I were advertising, I can insert the different banners here. Scroll to the bottom, and click Save Changes. So now I go look at my website, refresh my page. I have these 4 different pages I've put together. Here's the Find Us. This is where it has that contact information along with a map that I've embedded, and a Contact Us page. This is where they're going to click on these different links to be taken to those separate pages. And again, email. I didn't format that right. That should be mail to, not email to. Sorry about that. But that would typically open up my client. So I could come back and fix it if I wanted. Just come back into my pages, all pages. It's on our Contact Us. It's mail to. So now that I do have a site, my site does look really good. My email link works. That was my email client. There was a question. This is what I wanted to demonstrate and show you today. So any questions you may have about what was covered, feel free to ask those now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to address the 2 questions that were asked earlier. One is changing the theme on an existing site, and the other is how to get a theme from. In this case, it was Theme for Press was the site in the question. So the site looks pretty good. Let's say I did want to play around and change the overall look, and I wanted to try a different theme. Come back here to my dashboard. Let's go to Appearances, Themes, and I have a few of these that have already been installed. So here's the 2011, the default theme. And here's going to show me what it looks like. So this is going to be a nice preview. Save and activate this link. I'm okay with that look. Refresh my page. You can see that it's not going to load the same as it was before because this banner, this header image is now going to be taking just one of the default WordPress header images. So I need to go through and reset up this theme to work properly with how I'd set up my site. My slideshow still works because that's a separate plugin, as well as my other plugins are still going to work, just because those plugins are not going to be theme dependent. But everything that was theme dependent has now been broken. So if I wasn't happy, I can come back in here and then choose to activate one of my themes again. That way my site can then go back to as it was. So you can always change the theme. Just keep in mind that some of these settings that are theme specific are probably not going to work in your next theme. There was a question about finding a theme for Theme for Press. I'd like to just kind of address that one-on-one. I'm not really familiar with Theme for Press, but I'm going to end the audio portion of today's presentation. I'm really glad that you've attended today. I hope this has been helpful and informative for you, that you've learned something about WordPress. If you have any questions about something you've come across while working WordPress, or maybe as you're getting ready to start using WordPress, please feel free to ask those questions and I can help you with those. If I get some questions that look like it would be really good for everyone to be able to see this, I'll just turn the audio back on and I can help you guys out some more. So thank you so much for attending and have a great day.